Good morning. This is a part 2. I started to go somewhere with this story and I'm tangential, so I went off to somewhere else. I was talking about that I was involved in Al-Anon for many years, which is for friends and families of alcoholics. And even though I didn't continue to grow up in alcoholism, the damage was done in our early childhood. Coming into Al-Anon is actually what gave me a voice, because when you have the addict, you have a co-addict. When you have an alcoholic, you have a co-alcoholic. So the addict or the alcoholic is the center of the world, so to speak, and everyone else is living to please them. That is the ultimate of codependency. And so the ones who are serving the addict or alcoholic don't have a voice. And so we need to get our voice. And so in Al-Anon, a place that supports people who grew up in alcoholism, you get to share. Nobody comments and nobody corrects. You just share, and people say thank you for sharing, because we need to come into our voice. And it's so funny. I was a full person growing up. I had a voice, but I wasn't permitted to use it. And so now my greatest weakness, when I didn't have a voice, has become my greatest strength, and our voice is a major light switch. You know, I talk about that all the time in my Call to Transparency series, which I now call Loving Ourselves, and my Moving the Telling series, where I'm simultaneously sounding and moving. The movement inspires the sound, and the sound inspires the movement. We need to reclaim our one-of-a-kind lives. We build ourselves up in our most holy faith. We affirm our personhood. We have these mighty, beautiful instruments of praise, making them mighty weapons of warfare. Well, I remember one evening at an anniversary. At the anniversary, they celebrate like how many years the meeting has been taking place at a particular location. They had an alcoholic speaking. So at an Al-Anon meeting, they'd have an alcoholic speaking, a co-holic, someone in the family who suffered from the disease of alcoholism, and then Alateen, which is Al-Anon for teenagers. So they have people their own age. And I remember, I don't know if I was a believer at the time, though there are many believers in the program. I remember someone giving testimony. This was so powerful. When my wife or my husband stopped caretaking me, stopped enabling my disease, my sickness, I hit my bottom. They didn't try to play God. They stopped trying to rescue me. I hit my bottom, and that's when I began to recover. And that's what I wanted to talk about in part 1. You know, for me, because my mom didn't make it, she died of sclerosis of the liver. At least that's what it says on the death certificate. But I'm just going to leave it there. And she was only 35. She didn't make it. So when I hear an alcoholic talking about recovery and how they have a sober, functional, wonderful life, that's miraculous to me. That's nothing short of a miracle, because addiction is addiction. Oh, yes. Once you come to know Yeshua, you can cut off that ungodly sickness, disease. But some people, yes, get miraculously healed. But I think the majority of people, they work a program. They do the emotional work, and they discover why they're an alcoholic in the first place. What is at the root of addiction? I once heard it said so beautifully that connection is the answer to addiction, because we were born to be connected. First, of course, to God, to our parents, primary relationships. We were made for connection, and some of us did not have that. And we have been learning how to have a good life with God, and having to replace lies that we believed as children. The enemy of our soul came into our homes. We were victims at 2 years old, or early childhood. But whatever is going on in us today, we're adults living in the free world. We're responsible for our own recovery. And so when you have Yeshua, there's nothing he can't do. He can transform your life. He did mine. Oh, yes. This December, it'll be 35 years walking with the Lord and dancing with God for about 30. Oh, yeah. And he's transformed my life. Yeshua has transformed my life. Healing is the equivalent of being transformed into the image of Yeshua. And I'm on that road of recovery. And I want to encourage you, child of God, to do the same, so that you can be everything you were created for. God bless you from the Golan.